By every measurable factor, Americans have a great appetite for news about our own politics. And by all the same quantitative measures, we have a fairly small appetite for news about politics, or really anything else going on in the rest of the world. But there is a place where American politics and the stuff going on in far corners of the world we don't really like to think about come together. There is a place where American politicos turn up in the 20th paragraph of mostly otherwise unread international news stories about scary things happening in faraway places. I've always thought of it as the Scuzzy Dictator portfolio. It is a frequently recurring creepy thing about being an American reading up on bad things happening in other parts of the world. Like, say you're reading up on the 1976 Argentinian military junta, or that super creepy Romanian dictator Nicolae Ceausescu. You're reading up on these guys for some reason, and then you come across the fact that they had an American PR firm working for them. Burson Marsteller, remember Burson Marsteller? PR firm now run by Hillary Clinton's pollster from 2008, Mark Penn, who continues to pop up as a talking head. Burson Marsteller represented those guys. They also represented Indonesia when they were putting down the uprising in East Timor, and 3 days after 9/11, Saudi Arabia hired Burson Marsteller. I wonder why. There is this class of American politicos who build up their Rolodex and their reputation and their D.C. contacts and their political capital by participating in American politics, but then they sell it abroad. They sell all that clout they build up here to the world's scuzziest dictators around the world. Today we have a new one of those. In the past week, one of the strangest scuzzy dictator stories in the news emerged when Baby Doc went back to Haiti. This is the man who was handed the dictatorship of his country by his father when he was 19 years old. He is most remembered for looting his country of hundreds of millions of dollars and for the horror movie tactics of the death squads he employed against his own people. What could be more cartoonishly horrible than a death squad teen dictator whose name was Baby something, right? Well, perhaps learning that a former Republican congressman and libertarian presidential candidate is trying to sell said dictator to the world. Bob Barr, remember him? He was an uber right-wing congressman from Georgia for 8 years. He then sort of kind of remade his image and ran for president in 2008 on the Libertarian Party ticket. He even did an interview on this show at that time. But now his new gig is cashing in on his own scuzzy dictator portfolio. Check this out from Bob Barr's website. Haiti's former president brings message of hope to people. And by Haiti's former president, he means Haiti's former 19-year-old dictator who was run out of the country on a rail 25 years ago. Scuzzy dictators selling their own message of hope is one thing. American politicos helping scuzzy dictators sell their message of hope is a whole new level of American audiences have a much bigger appetite for news about America than we do for news that is about people who are not Americans. And so American politicos who work for scuzzy dictators around the world, they are counting on that only making the international news so as to insulate them from any domestic political fallout here. But if you're Bob Barr and you want to go work for Baby Doc, or you're Rudy Giuliani and you want to cash in on how much you hate Saudi Arabia and then go work for Saudi Arabia, if you're Mark Penn or Lanny Davis, if you're an American politico who builds up political capital in this country and spends it for scuzzy dictators in other countries, that's fine. You have the right to work for whomever you would like. But know that when you spend your hard-earned political capital on scuzzy dictators, you are also spending your political credibility as well. I always sort of wondered what would happen to Bob Barr after he took that interesting turn of rejecting his own cultural conservative ideas and becoming a libertarian. I wondered if he had a brighter future ahead of him. He might in Haiti. Here, it's not going to happen. The scuzzy dictator stink, Rudy, Bob, all you guys, it follows you home.